Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeartRadio network, the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America and also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. You good old boys up in Canada. I don't know if it's hate mail or love mail, but it's too much to open right now, so I'm going to skip the old national anthem from Canada. But I do want to say there's no one I love more than them good old boys down south in the land of the free, in the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys?
Well, Charlton, I don't know if we're going to be free much longer. We got a special prosecutor. He may be looking into some things that we doing down here, this moonshine on and all that,
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about cutting into revenue.
Yeah.
We got to become a little more secretive and diverse in what we've been.
Well, I tell you, man, it's all happening. The land of the free and the home of the brave. Today is May the 18th, 2017. I woke up this morning watching some local news, and there was $1 million drug bust in the state capital of California, Big Z. It was for marijuana. Okay, I guess it's legal if you have a license. It's not legal if you don't have a license. And I'm glad the guys that got busted were not African-American, because it would have been all over the news. Big C was a different persuasion. But, a lot of things going on in the world. And, Sessions, he's about putting his foot down on law enforcement. So all you good boys better be careful out there. And I want to just tell you, this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. Big C, so much going on in the world of sports. We have basketball is not happening today, but baseball's in the swing of things. We still have hockey. People are excited about that. But there's something also in the world of politics. I had Charles Barkley. I saw something that he did last night, and I know we've been all over it, and it's about sports and politics, how intelligent people can do it. If you're just an ignorant person, just stick to the score. But Charles Barkley did something that was so gripping last night. It was on the city of Baltimore. And there was a gentleman that was, lost his life by law enforcement. And I just thought some of the stories about that were so powerful. Just give me your idea down south. Do we still have these issues when it comes to race unless you're an athlete? If you're a black American, Big C, your thoughts?
Charlton, that issue in America will never go away. As much as America want to say that, things have changed and it's much better now socially in America. We have more equality. It is not when it comes to that. You're still pulled over, whether you're a black athlete, black entertainer, or just an average black citizen.
Yeah.
Is this your car? Do you have a criminal record? And you're pulled over at an expeditious rate, Charlton, much more than other parts and ethnic pockets of society, mainly white.
Yeah.
I can run around in any vehicle that I have, and I'm always at the mercy of law enforcement pulling me over at any time for anything.
Yeah.
Just because they have the need and the desire to, Charlton, and the power.
Yeah.
For years, people thought it was a criminalization of African Americans that's the reason why this was going on. Now, Charlton, it's systematic, picking up the race. I mean, even yesterday in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where the police officer was acquitted of manslaughter for shooting the gentleman outside his vehicle when he was unarmed because his car had come to a stop in the middle of the road. He got a death sentence because his vehicle stalled in the middle of the road and he was seeking help.
Yeah.
And this police officer said she felt threatened by him because he was the one who called 911.
Yeah.
That's what African Americans go through, Charlton. You call 911 and your life is the one in peril because you called for assistance.
Yeah.
He did nothing wrong, but he lost his life. And I love the way that the prosecutor will always come back saying, well, he had, drugs in his system.
Right.
Drugs didn't make him pull the trigger. There was nothing about evidence of drugs prior to her shooting him.
Yeah.
There was something that indicated that he may have had some chemical substance in his system. And if it did not impair his driving, Charlton. It wasn't enough to make him go to jail. And think about it, when you have to do a toxicology report on somebody after they're deceased, how can you actually say that this impeded them? And we talked about the owner of the Indianapolis Colts who was caught with $27,000.
Yeah, Mr. Ursay. Yeah.
And staggered into the jail with the aid of the police officer to take him in and make sure he didn't fall and hurt himself. There was no gun pulled on him. He was taken into jail with all the graciousness that he could. But, here was this African-American man driving a nice SUV, wasn't speeding, his car stalled in the road.
Yeah.
He wasn't causing a problem to the police, but yet he lost his life and he was acquitted. And the people on the jury, when they came out, you have juries sobbing before they give the verdict because they know that they gave a bad verdict, but they gave it anyway.
Well, see, this
is what we feel, and you think about Oklahoma.
Oklahoma,
that's still part of the South, Tony.
Yeah, and see, I know that so many people are talking about there's two Americans, and as an African-American man, I really speak to a lot of the African-American youngsters out there because they're not going to hear it from mainstream more than just 5 minutes. There's really been a war on black men since the integration of our society and even the Emancipation Proclamation. I got to go back to something that happened because everybody's talking about how much money somebody's going to get if it's $75 million or $50 million with the new contracts coming up, as if there's no issues. But for the average black male, which is who I really want to reach out to, because I don't want to act like I'm an ignorant person and pretend that everybody's making $75 million in mainstream. There's still a lot of young black kids, and white kids too, that have stars in their eyes when they think they're going to get drafted to become a next pro athlete. But I go back to this photo that was back in the day, about 50 years ago. It was Muhammad Ali, it was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, it was Jim Brown, it was Bill Russell, and a lot of good guys who were athletes but also activists. And without them putting their necks on the line, there'd be no Big C Sports. There'd be no Charlton and Big C Sports. There might be an ESPN or a Fox Sports. But what I really regret is when people in our position, they say nothing. They say nothing because they want to fit in with the status quo. And I've always said that sports will bring our society closer together than politics, because black and white, it doesn't matter what your ethnicity is, your religion, people get together and come together. We see each other as teammates and brothers, and I'm so glad that the mainstream has caught up with what we've been doing for a whole year, Big C, because it really protects a lot of black boys. This thing that Charles Barkley did last night, it wasn't about race as much as it was about economics and how the banks don't lend money to black Americans, Big C. That was a problem. Your thoughts on that?
They still don't talk, and they never really have, with open arms. It's always been met with resistance when you're an African American and you're going into a bank. You have to fill out 2 to 3 times the amount of paperwork, verification of everything, even though it's sitting in a bank.
Yeah.
They want even more income tax from a African American than what they want from a white American when you're applying for something.
Yeah.
They want to check family history, not just yours, but family history. Family has something to do with you getting the loan, but they do research on your family. They just don't pull it on you. They start looking at name searches.
Yeah.
People that may be relatives of yours to see if there's a risk on their behalf, but they're not responsible or even on any of the notes, Charlton.
Yeah.
Well, when we sit back and think about athletics and how it deals with economics and politics, Charlton, the two greatest people in the history of Major League Baseball and the NBA were African Americans, Charlton.
Yeah.
And today's athletes have no idea who they are, Charlton. They really don't. Kurt Floyd, an all-star second base shortstop with the St. Louis Cardinals, created free agency in Major League Baseball. An
Yeah.
African American created.
Yeah.
He challenged the white establishment, saying that you cannot own us, where everybody else was accepted of that.
Yeah.
And ever since Kurt Floyd established free agency, helped establish free agency in Major League Baseball. Now, he was in the 11th year of his career, Charlton. He was a 10-time All-Star.
Yeah.
He was like Bev Williams, who embarrassed white society when he won the Super Bowl over John Elway and threw 5 touchdown passes, setting records in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Never played a down of football again. Kurt Floyd never picked up a bat again on a Major League Baseball diamond. Now, he was a 10-time All-Star in the 11th year of his career.
Yeah.
He just came off an All-Star season. That did not happen for him. The second, Charlton, is a man named Spencer Haywood. The NBA, the richest that the NBA athletes get today. All of John Calipari's kids, the one and dones, all over the United States.
Yeah.
Oldest to Spencer Haywood, who challenged the NBA in the Supreme Court, Charlton, and won. Won this right to enter the workplace, that you could not obstruct a man from getting a job in his chosen profession.
Yeah.
He took that to the Supreme Court and won. These are 2 African Americans, Charlton, that should have gotten a Presidential Medal of Freedom at some point in their life for what they created for others, Charlton, opportunity. They didn't reap the benefits of it, but they laid the groundwork for so many of those who do now, Charlton. Not just black, but white also.
Yeah. Yeah.
All cultures
Yeah.
benefit from what these African American sacrifice to allow others to get to the point of financial status that has only been held by the elitists for hundreds of years in America.
Well,
but these are the sacrifices that African Americans make in society that never get the credence through the media. The media don't give them homage.
Yeah.
They'll sit up and talk about Roger Clemens and Nolan Ryan getting 300 wins, things like that, Charlton, and even Barry Bonds with a 760 home runs, whatever he had.
Yeah.
They don't talk about the guys who made the opportunity for these guys who had it. I still, even with, Jackie Robinson.
Yeah.
He gets all the creams in the world for the color berry. And he did cross the color berry. But it was at the sacrifice of many other Negro jobs. That's what it was for. And that will never go in the record books like that. Branch Rickey systematically helped destroy the Negro Leagues by bringing Jackie Robinson in.
Yeah.
He knew what he was doing. It was economics for Major League Baseball, not to benefit African-American players or African-American baseball. Because think about it. How many Negro League players became unemployed when that league folded, Charlton?
Yeah.
Because they had taken all the young talent, and blacks could now get into a Major League ballpark. It wasn't that these blacks wanted to vacate and leave the league, Charlton.
Yeah.
Is that they thought it was opportunity, but they didn't understand the total economics of it.
Well, that's a great point, Big C. And so as we talk about sports and politics and the role of us as people in media, we can be ignorant sports jocks and just talk about who won a game, but that's for kindergartners. What I really hope that what we can leave is a legacy in the world of sports broadcast for intelligent people. If you're just dumb, just keep reading the scores. But I want to just go back to the greatest athlete in the NFL, and we're talking about money all the time, but we need to talk about how that money is made. The great Jim Brown in Cleveland, where he dominated the NFL for 9 seasons. He founded what's known as the Black Economic Union, because unlike a lot of the media guys that are talking all over the country about who's going to sign a contract, who's going to become the next multi-millionaire, they say nothing about the economic side of what made it happen. And if you keep people ignorant, they'll always be a slave to you financially. And I hope that this coalition of black talent, and white guys too, the ones that have the heart for it, they can do some economic empowerment for the younger communities. The same way Jim Brown did, the same way the great Muhammad Ali did with the Ali Center in Louisville. And, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he's still around. He and Russell are still here. I hope that these bright minds, LeBron James is doing the same thing. Don't just be thought of as an athlete. We got to find a way to create economic empowerment for all kids, black and white, but especially for the young black athletes that are exploited the most, the last hired and the first fired. You got to have value when you're turning off the uniform or when you turn it in, Big C. And I think these guys were on to something what we were doing, but they were doing it 55 and 60 years ago. Who can be the next one, whether it's a media company or a station or athletes, to lead that cause to talk about financial empowerment, Big C, not how many points LeBron James scored in a basketball game? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton is actually controlled by those media outlets that you speak about. If those media outlets do not provide a platform or a voice for these athletes to use as a vehicle to inform and educate others, then that voice is never heard. When we think about print media, whenever you pick up the sports page, whenever you pick up USA Today or any major publication, they don't sit there and talk about the economics of the black athlete, the impactfulness of the black athlete, how communities can benefit from the black athlete, allowing them to be utilized in more ways than just utilizing a ball on a court or an arena, Charlton. They don't, during an interview with the black athlete, you never hear about them talking about a foundation. You never hear them talking about community involvement. You never hear them talking about an opportunity to expand their horizons within any area other than just scoring more points or getting more assists or making more tackles in a game, Charlton, or even getting more hits. That's not what the media is interested in. Anytime you see a story, and we got the NBA Finals getting ready to come up. Okay? You're not going to hear anything about the philanthropy of any of these players, Charlton. All the NBA team came out today. And they're talking about that. They're talking about the players in their stats and the number of times.
It's like dumbed down sports talk.
They're talking about how many times, Charlton, that they've gone out and benefited their community. How many times they had food drives, toy drives, that they helped out homeless families, Charlton. that they provided shelter. They don't talk about that because they don't want the mainstream listener and viewer out there to understand that these athletes are more than just athletes.
Yeah.
They have community involvement. But if you keep society devoid of that, Johnson, then you only think of them as selfish jocks.
Yeah, and that's something I want to bring up here. In Sacramento, back in the day, they had a baseball team called the Sacramento Solons. They had the largest fan base in the West Coast League that they played in. And, of course, when the war happened, then the league kind of disbanded Big C. But they, for the smallest city at that time in that league, they had more fans than any other city out here in the West Coast. But I want to go back to something that this gentleman that was just here in Sacramento, DeMarcus Cousins, played here 7 years. And, of course, he was tough to deal with the media because he was just kind of had an attitude. But this gentleman did more philanthropy in the community that's not known about. The average person, when you hear about DeMarcus Cousins, they think about he got ejected so many times that he had to had to sit games. But they don't think about the money that he poured into it. So this is for the young people who want to think like Jim Brown. We praise Jim Brown, we praise Ali, we praise Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Bill Russell, but we can be like that. And I just want to make sure that for all people, black and white, everyone's open doors for me, black and white. But I know a lot of good white Americans that want to put their money where their mouth is, that have a good cause they can support. When you lost that substance, it's so sensitive, that article on TNT that Charles Barkley hosted. Because as a multi-millionaire, here he is walking through communities. Big C, you would think he was back in 9/11 again. These communities are just destroyed. There's no financial revitalization projects. I know Trump talked about giving $1 billion to the African American community. We know he lied about that. But for the athletes, I'm not saying that any athlete has to give his money. The owners don't give them money. They get money from the taxpayers. Even here in Sacramento, the Golden One Center, I think there's $500 million. It's worth $1 billion now, that organization. They're not getting $250 million back to the taxpayers. But if they did, it could solve a lot of the problems in the inner cities for these kids that don't have uniforms on. But it could be a way to teach them how to become entrepreneurs. That would contribute to all of our society. And I know if every black athlete went on strike for the NBA Finals, there'd be no basketball, Big C, because about 85% of the rosters are African American. They have more power than they know, but they got to talk about it, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, we'll put it in perspective, Jonathan. Half of America think they can play poker, okay?
Yeah.
They all think they can play cards. Now, ESPN does this thing every year called the World Poker Tour, okay?
Yeah.
Where they highlight these poker players.
Yeah.
And they do dossiers on them, Jonathan. They do background.
Yeah.
They inform you about these guys. And these are just nobodies that nobody knows other than the poker tournament.
Yeah.
But you think about it. How many times does ESPN have NBA players on the show? Okay?
Yeah.
How many times does ESPN have NFL players on the show? How many times does ESPN have NHL players on the show, Jonathan?
Yeah.
How many times do they have players from every sport? But you don't sit there and see them do background shows every day on these players.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you think about it during the sports season, well, you should know something about that. And right now in the playoffs, you should know something about every player left on the final 4 teams playing.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
You should know something. Not just the 5 starters, but every player. Because there's enough airtime that's wasted
Yeah.
on these grouping programs to not be able to fill it with something that has content.
Yeah.
Now, you think the content of these players. Now, what does anybody know about Isaiah Thomas, the great guard of the Boston Celtics, other than he lost his sister a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah.
Nobody knows nothing, Johnson. They do nothing about Isaiah Thomas. 90% of people watching TV doesn't realize he was in Sacramento 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
90% of the people watching the playoffs did not realize he was with the Sacramento Kings 3 years ago and he's the cast off.
Yeah.
Because they didn't feel that he could help that organization. And he's one of the best guards in the NBA. No one knows that, Johnson.
Yeah.
To understand the background of players, okay? This is why society only looks at them as jocks. Because the television networks forces society to look at them one-sided, Johnson.
Well, Big C.
Dossier backgrounds on these athletes let you know about their education, their community and social involvement, Johnson, the endowments that they have to help underprivileged children
Yeah.
and all children, Johnson, to help educational programs within their communities, how they go out and help feed people during the holidays and other times of year. The networks want the public to be devoid of the knowledge of the athlete. And it's an intentional act, Johnson, because if you do it to the public, who's a part of the public? public, Charles.
Yeah.
Law enforcement.
Yeah.
Law enforcement is a part of the public. So they look at them from one capacity, Charles. They don't look at them as quality people being community and civic activists. And so this is why athletes and the black community is targeted that way, because the media keeps this black light on us all completely.
You know what's interesting about that, Big C? You and I have been around the media for a long time, and a lot of good old boys back in the day that we started with. I recently went by a radio station just to listen to some guys that are here in the Northern California market. These guys sit around with these computers open, and they sit around with a producer piping something in their ear. But I heard some good old boys saying in some stations here in Sacramento, guys, there's no basketball tonight. What are we going to talk about? I guess we'll just reiterate some of the old news we talked about yesterday. They have no knowledge of the game. They have no knowledge of the industry and how finances make everything happen. And I think for the young kid, especially African-American boys, the talk is about, I think Paul George is going to get $75 million to play with the Lakers, and some other transactions happening around the country. But I think that it would behoove of any station to be an educational pulpit for a bit when it comes to sports. Just like the owners, there's a financial side to this business. And I hate when young boys are blindsided thinking they're going to get the next $75 million like Paul George may or may not get, Big C. But it goes back to this thing that Ali said when he called some of the top athletes to get together. You've been doing this too because you have a conscience about it. And we love sports. But without the money, there is no sports. That's why the Sacramento Solons are out of business. At the same, yeah.
Look at this and what you're talking about. We talk about the networks highlighting athletes.
Yeah.
In a light other than just the game.
Yeah.
Back during this last football season, ESPN, plagiarized us a little bit.
Yeah.
With Julio Jones. Okay?
Oh yeah, I remember that. The catfishing story when he couldn't catch the catfish.
You got Julio Jones allegedly catfishing on the
Yeah.
catfish.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
But instead of showing Julio Jones being a community activist,
Yeah.
he died on a lake. This is all he cares about.
Yeah. Yeah.
He doesn't have a social consciousness. All he can do is just go out in the middle of a lake by himself on a bass boat,
Yeah.
fishing in water that's 100 feet deep, and anybody who fishes know you're not catching catfish.
Yeah, that's funny.
When it's 95 degrees outside,
And, yeah, see, Big C, a lot of people don't know.
This is how they portray him, Charles.
Yeah, and see,
This is the bad light they portrayed him. Instead of showing him being in some schools, Charles,
Yeah.
or even with his foundation, ESPN didn't want people to see that.
Yeah.
They want to see Julio Jones as just a country boy hanging out on a boat, and all he knows how to do is fish in his leisure time.
and didn't catch any fish. And see, a lot of people don't realize that you do the show from your boat down south, Big C. You're not in a $1 million studio with all that stuff, because I want to bring this point up because I really think there's so much talent out there in the world of sports. I remember back in the day, Kanye West came to the Sacramento Golden One Center. He did 3 songs and threw the mic down and left. Okay, there's a lot of people when you go to a concert, they do a lip sync. You can tell it's not live, they're just lip syncing, Big C. And a lot of the radio people, they do the same thing. I mean, turn off the teleprompter, turn off the producer's earplug, and they don't know what to say. And I want to bring it up because if anything that Big C Sports wants to do as far as a legacy is to teach young kids to be entrepreneur minded. I met another young, sharp African-American man today. He played athletics back in the day, went to Burbank High School here in Northern California. He owns a business, Big C. He's not thinking about a $75 million contract signing with the LA Lakers. He's not thinking about being the next multi-million-dollar NFL athlete or NBA guy. And I think that's important. And he and I had this conversation. And he knows sports as well as anybody I've met up here. He's not in a uniform. He's a lot like what we do. The business side needs to be talked about more so than some guy getting $75 million. Let's talk about how that $75 million comes into place, Big C. It's because of TV revenue, not because of people buying tickets. It's because people buying the sponsorship that supports this business. That's how that $75 million came to be, not because he hit jump shots, Big C. How do we educate the young athlete that that's more important than wearing a uniform, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, we're talking, it starts at a young age, even with the parents. And no one understands statistics. I mean, we have all these analytics now, these new fab guys in the sports industry who talk analytics.
Yeah.
It would be nice if ESPN and Fox and all of the major outlets would dedicate a program to percentage.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
To let young athletes know this is your chance of getting to this level.
Yeah.
As a Pop Warner kid, this is your chance of even making your high school football team. Because they don't all make it. You look at some of these cities, Charleston, that have dozens and dozens of top water teams in every school district.
Yeah.
Okay? It's not just one to match the high school, but you go into a district, they got 12 top water teams that feed a high school.
And can't find a computer for every kid in the classroom, Big C. That's the shame of it.
But they're not told that they're not going to make it. Then all of a sudden, you know, these high school players.
Yeah.
Okay, you think about it, they all got 75 to 100 kids on them.
Yeah.
How many of these kids are going to be on a college team? You might get 1 or 2 out of a high school on average.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They feed these colleges, these universities, Charleston.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, from these universities, we just saw the NFL draft. 256 players drafted, Charleston.
How many?
256 players drafted in the most recent NFL draft.
Yeah.
There are 123 schools that play Division I football, Charleston.
Yeah.
123 that play Division I. So an average of 2 players per Division I school. Now, Charleston, all those players, at least 50 came from schools sub-Division I.
Yeah.
Drafted, okay?
Yeah.
So we got 200 Division I players drafted out of 123 colleges. So what happens to all of those guys who are eligibility is up?
Yeah.
Guys who left early, who did not finish out their term in their scholarship.
Yeah.
That left years on the table of eligibility thinking that they were going to get to the NFL.
Yeah.
Didn't get drafted. This is where ESPN and Fox with these networks, NBC, ABC, and CBS drop the ball. They do not dedicate any programming to let these young men know what's going to happen to your life if you're not the next great pro athlete.
Yeah.
We think about the NBA draft, y'all, but they just had the lottery, okay?
Yeah.
There's 30 NBA teams. There's 2 rounds of the draft.
Yeah.
You've had 47 underclassmen declare already. Underclassmen, 47. We're not talking about the seniors, Charlton.
Yeah.
We're talking about the underclassmen that still have anywhere from 1 to 3 years left of college eligibility left.
Yeah.
Not all the seniors who have none. And you're going to get 2 rounds. 60 players are going to get drafted. Okay?
Yeah.
60. We're not talking about the Europeans that are going to be in the draft.
Yeah.
We're not talking about the Southeast Asians in the draft.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So when it comes down to Americans being in the draft, Charlton, of those 60, you're going to be lucky to get 65 Americans drafted.
Yeah, and
All right?
that's a very good point, Big C. That I just also want to say that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to that billion-dollar industry. And when you go out and play athletics, you need insurance. You need athletics and event insurance. We get it through Big C Sports. We go through Ben and Mark. We're in all 50 states, and we can even insure in several countries. Tweet out to Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network. We get you covered. Big C, you brought up a great point. I think back to some good old boys just on the radio reading about who's going to go where and how much money they're going to get. I think back to the NBA. At a time, you have to watch the finals at nighttime. I think they put it on after the regular news went on. And then the game, 2 guys by the name of Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. And they revolutionized the game because one was black and one was white. And it gave 2 segments of society something to root for. I mean, fact is, a lot of the white society, they rooted for Larry Bird. A lot of the black guys rooted for Magic Johnson. But these 2 guys, they were fierce competitors. But what I like about those 2 gentlemen, they became business owners and GMs, Big C. They were not just a dumb jock. And what I think a lot of people can learn from them is Magic Johnson has done more for the African-American community than probably Donald Trump will ever do. And he was an athlete, but he used his brain the way we're trying to reach out to people who follow Big C Sports. It's great to learn about the score. Yeah. Yeah. That's you know what? If we can keep that message, Big C, we know a lot of people are doing it now. I hate when I see what Charles Barkley showed last night. Some very talented African-American men who were jobless. I'm not saying it's by fault of their own. A lot of the banks they call redlining. They don't make loans to black Americans. A lot of these banks are not owned by black Americans, but they won't make loans to them. And that's what I saw, and it's happened all over the country. So what's the solution? The solution is not to go out and play basketball. Yeah.
Why the banks don't make the loan, okay?
Yeah.
Because if you don't make the loans, you keep part of society impoverished.
Impoverished, yeah, we know. Yeah.
It's not all about these people are a loan threat. Okay,
Yeah.
That they may not pay back the loan. It's about keeping impoverishment.
Yeah.
Because if you allow a part of society to gain equality, because if you loan money to okay?
Like Magic Johnson?
What happens with this business? They start employing blacks if they're successful, okay?
Yeah.
So more and more people now are on that line of success where you can pay your bills, where you're not dependent on somebody. You're not on some entitlement program. Is that you can go out with pride and self-esteem knowing that you're getting up every morning, every night to go to work.
Yeah.
To earn an honest paycheck.
Yeah.
This is what happens when small businesses are created. Now, Trump has always talked about, okay, we got to bring back the small business, man. There's too many sanctions that's hurting the small business. That is not true. The only thing that hurts the small business in America is the banks not willing to lend them money.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a corporate guy and you need $1 billion loan, the banks are more than happy to give it to you. Because now they got a big loss that they can write off.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
If that loan goes bad, ask Donald Trump. He's written off a lot of $1 billion loans.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He's done that on a few occasions. But that small business who wants to go in and get that $250,000 something to start up something that can grow, that can manifest, that's the one they don't want.
Yeah.
Banks don't want them.
Yeah.
Why? Because they're going to bring in another dozen employees, okay?
Yeah.
That's not going to be on the system. They're going to be proud workers. And they're not going to be sitting in some government line trying to get some assistance.
Yeah.
They're going to stand in line at the bank to cash their paycheck.
Yeah.
This is what American society fights against.
Yep.
It's not that the bank is fighting against a red line. The bank is fighting for empowerment of a social status, Jonathan. That's what they're fighting against. They don't care about the homes. They will give you a home loan, but they won't give you a business loan.
Yeah.
Which is more important?
Yeah.
Business loan, because now, Jonathan, you employ dozens of people who have opportunities to buy homes. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
If they have jobs, they can buy homes. But if they don't have jobs, they can never qualify for a home. So you don't give out the business loan.
And so,
this is what banks do.
And that's what Charles Barkley talked about last night on his program on TNT. But it's again what Muhammad Ali was talking about 50 years ago. So for the young kids out there, especially the African Americans, because and everybody knows this is true, it's painful to say, but as a young black kid, you will get pushed into the athletics more so than math and science. It's okay to play sports, but you got to be on top of the grades. And when you get out of school, you got to have a business mindset. And what I saw in that program that reminds me of everything that every athlete that I know has ever dealt with is money makes the world go around. I just hate when young kids are blindsided and they're thinking they're going to sign the next multi-million-dollar contract. There's a running back out of LSU by the name of Leonard Fournette, and ever since he was a young kid, they always targeted him as being the next great athlete. Miss America out of D.C., District of Columbia, she studies science. Which one has a better future? I tell you, the one who studies science has a better future, because Fournette, he can make some money, but once he gets injured, he's dealing with a lot of other issues. But the science lady, she can go on to make a lot more stable income for the rest of her life. Of course, we all want the limelight. But let's keep focused on keeping these kids focused on getting the education and understanding that it's not just about being a pro athlete or not, Big C. And I just want to get you, yeah.
Let me give you an objection on corporate America, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Everybody knows the number one fast food chain in the world. Who is it?
That's McDowell's. I call him McDowell's.
Everybody recognizes McDonald's.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
McDonald's is synonymous for success around the world. In America, Jonathan, 32% of the McDonald's stores are franchise owned, okay?
Yeah.
Corporate owned.
Corporate owned.
They're owned by corporate because corporate bought them back. Because of the image for McDonald's is that we cannot close a store.
Yeah.
We will operate that store at a loss from a corporate level because we can get a bank loan to float it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
But we will operate it at a loss so that we don't destroy our image. Our image is success regardless of where we go. Because if you look around, across from a lot of McDonald's, you'll see closed up Burger Kings, okay?
Yeah.
You'll see closed up Wendy's. You'll see closed up other fast food franchises because they all look to see where McDonald's is going. And when they're McDonald's, they buy the next adjacent corner lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when those stores are closing up, that means that McDonald's is not doing well either.
Yeah.
That image is, in corporate America, those banks, they will not give that loan to that small black business owner.
Yeah.
They'll keep funding that McDonald's that's not making money.
Yeah.
Instead of giving it to a small black business, small Hispanic business, small Asian business, or the minority business, to employ owners.
You know,
and I'm not saying that that's
yeah, go ahead right ahead, Big C. I know we're having a, go ahead, C.
That McDonald's is still open, it's employing people, but give other people an opportunity in America, Joe.
Yeah, And this thing that I see with the Coliseum being over here in Oakland, the Coliseum has championships for the Raiders. They have championships for Golden State. They have championships for the Oakland A's. Okay, but that doesn't mean anything if you don't have a uniform on. There's been so many businesses that are just in decay around the Oakland Coliseum area. I remember back in the day. Yeah, if you don't have it on. I mean, he was targeted by law enforcement, but going around Lake Merritt, I think he lives over in that area. But if there was a mall called the Eastmont Mall, which is now a police station, and I just see how a lot of the industry left, and then a lot of blight came, just like the story that Charles Barkley did in Baltimore. You could say the same thing about Oakland. There's parts of San Francisco that are trying to gentrify and move, I guess they don't have a lot of rent control in some areas. So a lot of poor people can't stay there. They got to get moved out to the Central Valleys, Big C. But just for the young athlete, I think what they've done is so important. And I do want to bring up just this one point, Big C. As athletes who are now in the world of media, I don't want to be just another dumb broadcaster. I want to make sure that we talk about the economics that are so important. And for a lot of black men, you can do it now because you do have a pulpit. LeBron James has given more money to help young poor kids go to college, black and white, than Mark Cuban as the owner of the Dallas Mavericks. But you'll hear about Mark Cuban's contribution to, I think it's called Shark Tank. You don't hear about as much as what LeBron James has done outside of following Big C Sports, Big C. What message can they give, Big C, as we get into the world of basketball? Just want to get your thoughts one more time on finances, because these guys are not just athletes, they're business people, and I hope that the major networks can expound on that too, because that's how you motivate more people that can get into business that cannot ever become a pro athlete. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when you think about networks, Charlton, in America, there's no African Americans involved in any network of any substantiation.
No.
Okay? There's no power brokers in network broadcasting that are African American.
They'll hire you as a salesperson, and that's about it.
Even BET Network, Black Entertainment Network,
yeah,
owned by the Japanese, okay? They bought it.
Yeah.
So when you think about us as a culture having an opportunity to inspire those things, we don't, because we're never given that opportunity for the spotlight. Yes, it was nice what Charles Barkley did.
Yeah.
Okay? To send Charles Barkley into an inner city. But why send Charles Barkley? He's not the cause.
I thought Donald Trump would have been there first, Big C, but he wasn't.
How many black reporters have been around forever? You understand that they had a plethora of white reporters.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell me since 1983, since they've been on air, that they have not ventured to games in all of these cities, that Charles Barkley doing games in Baltimore, D.C., Baltimore, it's all right there together, Charles.
Yeah.
Okay? So you're going to tell me that ESPN, which is right in Bristol, Connecticut, probably, about 6-hour drive from D.C. and Baltimore,
yeah,
that they never knew what was going on in Baltimore? They can do that right there in Bristol, Connecticut, Charlton. Boston's right there.
Yeah.
That same life, it exists in other cities. But these networks only want to show you an athlete who has a tight pair of pants or a baggy pair of shorts on.
Our $50,000 a gold necklace on his neck. Yeah.
They don't want to see you with an athlete with a coat and tie, Charlton.
Yeah.
Who's sitting in an executive boardroom, dealing with his CFO and CEO, his treasurer. They don't want you to see that side of a black athlete. Yes, there are many of them, Charlton.
Yeah.
That are running companies. We think about Shaq. We think Shaq is a replaceable individual.
Yeah.
On his freedom show. Shaq is the CEO of his own company, Charlton.
Yeah, he's a smart man.
He is mega diverse, all right?
Yeah.
But they don't show that side of Shaq. They want to show you Shaq clowning around. That's all they want you to see is Shaq.
Yeah.
Instead of doing this story on Shaq to enlighten America that Shaq is a very intelligent man.
Yeah.
With a college degree.
Yeah.
All of these things. So I'm talking about running for the sheriff's office in either Georgia or Florida within the next couple of years.
Yeah.
He wants to be the leader of the law enforcement agency. So these are the things that, really does not get shown about the black philanthropist, Charlton.
Yeah.
We only want to see them in their athletic attire. You think about how many African Americans have retired from professional sports.
Yeah.
They're very successful in virtual in the business world. Drew Pearson, former wide receiver of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
Okay? Worth hundreds of millions of dollars, Charlton, because of his business accolades after he got out of the game of football. But Drew Pearson played the game when there wasn't much money in it.
Yeah.
You think about it. He won 3 Super Bowl rings with the Dallas Cowboys, Charlton. Never made more than $100,000 in one season. Yet he has a couple $100 million on his bankroll right now.
And see,
right?
yeah, and that's what I love about Big C Sports, because we can also be like the other guys. The Yankees beat the Red Sox 6-5, and Chicago over Detroit 7-2, and that's great. But I want young men. I want to honor Muhammad Ali. I want to honor what Harry Evers talks about and Jim Brown. It doesn't matter what color you are. We talked about the great Red Auerbach, who coached the Boston Celtics back in the day. He gave a lot of African-American men opportunity, not just because they helped him win basketball games, but also in the business sector, Big C. He wasn't just play sports for me and that's it. There's a lot of guys that have done the same thing. Even the Laker organization, the great Magic Johnson, giving them an opportunity with that organization. That's so important, because life in the sports class as an athlete, I guess for NFL players, it's about 3.5 years, maybe 5 years. These things about Tom Brady playing 20 years or into his 40s, that is so rare. But life outside of the sports arena is where we got to conquer, Big C. That's where we really got to dominate. And speaking of dominating, the Cleveland Cavaliers, they made Boston look as if they were in a different league, Big C, and not in the league that can compete for the Eastern Conference Championship. Big C, your thoughts?
We've talked about this many times. Why we have the playoffs?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
So it's anticlimactic. Basketball viewers are bored.
Yeah.
TVs are turning off by halftime. People are going to bed, even on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Finding something else to do.
Yeah.
But, when you look at the state of the NBA, and everybody's talented, okay?
Yeah.
We see that. They would not be in that league if they were not. There's a difference about talent and having that alpha male mentality.
Yeah.
And you see that on both Cleveland and Golden State.
And Big C, we're having just a wee bit of trouble with your microphone. Maybe take that fish that you got trying to eat while you're trying to eat that fish and do the show, Big C. I just want to touch on it again. They said LeBron James, he is known as King James. We talked about it yesterday. Boston has seen the great Bill Russell. They've seen Casey Jones. They've seen Larry Bird. They saw the Danny Ainge, the Kevin McHale, Dennis Johnson, all them good old boys. But seeing guys like Jordan come in and dominate, I think he dropped 63 on Boston back in the day in the Garden. You see guys like Magic Johnson coming in there with Kareem, and they beat Boston back in the day. You see an athlete like Michael Jordan, of course, they're saying, is King James the next Michael Jordan? And again, I'm more impressed with what LeBron James has done as an entrepreneur and a businessman than what he does on the court. But did he really separate himself in Boston lore, the guys who saw all the great athletes from different teams coming to that great city? Did he separate himself last night, Big C? Your thoughts?
Russell is still the establishment
Yeah.
of the NBA.
Yeah.
He has it.
Yeah. We're still having a little bit of trouble with your microphone, Big C. I just want to see if we can clear that up real quick. And I know going into that thing with that game with Boston and Cleveland, everybody talks about who's going to be the next great player to come on this new contract that we're having. I think Westbrook is up for a new contract deal, and there's a couple other good old boys. I don't think Westbrook's making any sense by staying in OKC. There's even some talk that maybe that Thomas is not good enough in Boston because they were the number one seed in the East this year, Big C. I think he still keep Isaiah Thomas around there. Not many people can compete with LeBron James. But did LeBron James, is it just business as usual, or did he separate himself in your mind, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, it's business as usual with LeBron. I mean, he's played throughout his career, okay?
Yeah.
And really the past 7-8 years in the playoffs, what he's done consistently.
Yeah.
This is what he does with time.
Well, Big C, I understand we're still having some technical difficulties with your mic, but I do just want to touch on one more thought before we close out today, Big C. Being over here in Oakland, seeing all the activity that's going on in the Bay Area, they're building a new arena across the Bay for the Golden State Warriors. Even though here at the Oracle Coliseum, they've had so much success here, way going back into the day when they won their first championship back in the 70s. But now we see the Oakland A's, they play in front of about 20,000 people every night. It's kind of a sad thing to see unless you're here on the weekends where they'll get about 30,000 people in here. We know the Giants are having a tough go this year, but they always sell out over at AT&T Park, Big C. And then the Raiders, I just think about the Raiders leaving and going to Las Vegas in a couple of seasons. It really leaves the East Bay bare, and all they're going to have are the Oakland A's, and they really don't get the support being the Oakland A's, Big C. So we talked about Boston and how they have, used to be Boston Garden, now they have TD Gardens. How many great players have come through Boston? How many great players have come through the Bay Area? It's a shame that the Bay Area can't keep its teams in one geographical location. They're moving either across the Bay or they're moving out of the state, Big C. The 49ers left Candlestick Point. They're down in Santa Clara. There's not the same kind of crowd down there, Big C. It's a little bit more relaxed. And then it's crazy to see so many great teams relocating either throughout the Bay or throughout the country, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you think about people chasing the Eagles,
yeah.
Where can I get the best from?
Yeah.
No one's concerned about the fans. When you look at this, I mean, you look at the embarrassment that the NFL's about to face this upcoming season, Charlton.
Yeah.
The stadium in Los Angeles is being pushed back another year.
Another year, yeah.
The Chargers are going to have to play in a 30,000-seat stadium for 3 years.
Yeah.
They leave Jack Murphy to seat 70,000.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. That's called downsizing in California. They're just downsizing. No big deal, Big C.
30,000 fans.
Yeah.
And you think about it, what the locker rooms in there, Charlton, can't be more than a junior high locker room.
Yeah.
In that place, right?
Yeah.
That's all you got. You got players that are used to NFL stadiums.
Yeah.
And this is what they have to go to.
Yeah.
30,000 fans. You get that during the warm-ups, the pregame warm-ups, Charlton.
Yeah.
And so, to be able, and it's not going to be the noise factor that you would have in San Diego.
Oh, no.
So, you're going to have fans asking to pay NFL dollars to sit in a junior college stadium.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is what you're asking.
Yeah.
And so, where's the greed factor? Where's the care about the fan?
Yeah.
Even athlete, that you're so selfish that you move before you have them.
Yeah.
Instead of staying there, at least go to see and then move and taking it away from the fans of Oakland are staying around until they have a facility, okay?
Yeah, and we see
at least doing that.
We see where the greed factor sets in, Big C. In the last 30 seconds, Big C, what are you looking forward to coming up on this week, Big C? It looks like we're still having some issues with Big C's microphone. Maybe that big old fish that you were trying to catch, Big C, maybe he caught you instead. I told you about fishing for alligators, but we'll take care of that microphone next time. Big C, if we got you back, your final 30 seconds on what you're looking forward to.
I'm looking to the jump playoffs tonight, John. But that's, we got game 4. The goal of the game is just, something that's going to be played out. The game is over with before it starts.
Yeah.
Because still has some repetitive.
Well, and Big C, we're really having a hard time with the microphone, so I know we'll get it back next time, Big C. I do want to tell everybody that every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide on the iHeartRadio network, you can follow Big C Sports, and Big C Sports is also considered the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. We always tell you there's never any room for domestic violence. If you know any woman going through that garbage, just call 911 so we can keep women safe. And as we always tell you on every program, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.